Hi guys. So as most of you guys know, first off, let me apologize for my voice. I have, I don't know if it's a cold or a chest infection. I'm not really sure. I have some upper respiratory stuff going on. I feel fine. It's just my voice right now and a little bit of congestion. So, but don't worry, I got my tea over here, and if it gets too bad, I'll just have a sip of tea and we'll be good to go. Okay, so as most of you guys know, October is my colorversary. I have been coloring now for 1 year. I actually bought my first coloring book at the end of September of 2018, but I didn't start coloring until the beginning of October. So for my colorversary, I've had a lot of requests for a couple of different things. So I figured for this month, I'm going to go back to the basics, or at least the basics of how I learn. It's not the right way. It's not the wrong way, because when it comes to coloring, it's whatever method that connects with you, that you just have that aha moment, you know. And this is what did it for me. So by subscriber request, I got asked to do a 3-pencil skin tone that's just for beginners, that kind of gets them into, how to do it. And I remember when I first started coloring, that was my biggest thing. Like, skin tone scared the bejeebies out of me. And it was something that I tried, and I failed, and I tried, and I failed. And then I kind of came up with this method. And this is a method that helped me the most. And I'm hoping that it'll help some of you. And if you guys know how to do skin tone, then that's okay. You don't even have to watch this if you don't want to. Or you could just watch it and maybe leave some beginner tips or tricks down in the comments. So this way, if whoever's watching this, if this is their first time at skin tones, they might be able to learn something from you too, because in this community, we all learn from each other, and that's what's great about it. Okay, so I got a couple of things here. The first thing is I'm just going to use today the Prisma Color Portrait Set. I do have a couple of other pencil brands that I'm going to bring into, but right now I'm going to use Prisma Portrait. And the reason why is because Prisma's was the first, besides Crayola, the first brand that Ricky got for me. And it was the first brand that I fell in love with. The colors blended so nice. They kind of, smushed together on paper, and I was able to manipulate them and learn how to blend and learn how to do a few other things. Excuse me. So that's what I'm going to be working on today. It's just out of the portrait set. And like I said, we're going to pull out a few other brands just in case you guys don't have the Prismas. So what I did was I took this book, this page out of this book, and if you own any of the August Reverie books, actually any of these books, in here is a code where you can get the PDF format. So this works if you have a printer. If not, I got a different solution for that. But so I took this picture here and off my PDF, and I blew up the face, even though my blowing up is about the same size because of how I did it. So I took that picture and I cut off all the other stuff, and I was left with just the face like this. And I got this little thing here so I can cover up the other faces so I'm not getting in trouble by the copyright police. So this is just on, this one right here is just on regular copy paper. And I want to zoom you guys in a little bit here so you can kind of see what I'm doing, hopefully. We'll see. Okay, so then what I did was, let me move this book out of my way for right now. I have these stencils, and I will leave the link to these stencils down below. I have oval ones and circle ones. They come with 4. You get a big, really big circles. You get 2 of these size circles, and then you get this oval one. So what I did, let me grab my pencil here. When I first started out, I took my little stencil here, move that out of the way, and I made some marks on here. So up here, right on the forehead, I drew a little oval, And then down here on the cheeks, let's go this number 9. But down here on the cheeks, I just drew some little ovals. And they don't have to be precise. They don't have to be perfect. Down here on the chin, I drew a little oval. And then over here on the nose, I drew a little oval. Let's go a little tiny one here. Okay, so this is what I did when I first started out. And I'm just going to go ahead and fold this in half so I don't have to hide that bottom one. So this just kind of gave me a rough estimate of where my, let's turn this off, see if you guys can see that a little bit better if I turn that off. Okay, well what I can do is I can kind of darken this up so you guys can see. So I made an oval here, and here, a little one there, one here, and you guys can freehand this. You don't need the stencil. So this is what I kind of made. And so this way I knew where my light areas were, at least when I started out. This is how I did it. So I knew that on my cheeks I had to have a light area, right up here on the forehead, like the whole T-zone. And I only put a little one here on the nose, but I normally run the light right up the, well, not down here, right up the center here, up into this T-zone area. And then I like leaving a little light down here on the chin. So that's what I had, and I just kind of put this to the side when I was coloring, and I just had this as a reference. Because when you're coloring skin, I feel like you have to be kind of mindful where you put your lights and your darks. And especially the highlight areas. Like I always forgot my highlight area. So I just kind of put that to the side for reference purposes. We're going to try this whole light thing. I don't know. Okay, so I made this sheet, which is just 8 of those faces. And the reason I like doing it this way is because if I find a skin tone that I really like, I cut it out, and I'll show you guys that. I cut it out, and I'll glue that into my combo book or, you know, a different notebook, and so this way I can refer back to it. So for this demonstration today, I am going to go ahead, just so I can kind of keep it covered up, I'm going to go ahead and I am going to just cut this real quick here. Just cut right here. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're just kind of making it so this way it's manageable. Okay, so we're going to run that right down there, and then we just are going to work with the foil. Okay, so cover that up. We just got the top then. So I'm going to show you guys a couple different skin tones. So the first one that I like using is out of the Prisma color is Sienna Brown PC 945, Peach Beige 1085, and they're not in the right order. And then I like using this Rosy Beige, which is PC 1019. Okay, so I'm going to give them all a quick sharpen. I guess I could have done this beforehand, but you know, I'm never prepared. We just kind of wing it. Okay, so what I want to do with my Sienna Brown is and I like going dark to light. The reason I like going dark to light is I kind of blend as I go. I will pull out the blender pencil just because I got asked about it. I normally do not use a blender pencil. I did when I first started coloring, but I hardly ever anymore, since I kind of found my knack for coloring and how I like doing it, or the way that works for me. Okay, so with my Sienna Brown, and I go really lightly, like when I start, I go super light, and that's just my style of coloring. So I kind of go on the hairline here, and I'll bring it down around the face to make it kind of look rounded, you know. I'll darken up on the sides of the eyes here, just underneath the eye, still remembering that my light highlight's going to be in here. So I'll bring it down. I'll bring it down the face, but I don't go all the way. I leave the chin without any shadow. And like I said, that's just the way that I do it. So then underneath the lip, I'll do a little bit of darker there. On this nose part here, I go down the side of the nose, and I'll bring that up just a little bit so the nose gets a little bit of definition. Let's do the nostrils. I like going around these little flared edges here, and right down at the bottom there, and then up here sometimes I'll make just a little round part, so this way it looks like, you know, that's part of the nose. And I'll do the same thing, and I shouldn't have went up that high, but that's okay. Same thing on this side of the nose, kind of, you know, have a curve in. And you can, you know, when doing this, if you kind of curve it in some more, it'll make the nose more narrow. Or you can widen it up a little bit if you wanted to. So the same thing, I'm going to go a little bit around the eye, and then down the nose. Okay, so now we're back over here to this side of the face, and the same thing, I don't go down by the chin. So I go up the hairline here, a little bit around the eyes. And like I said, this is not how I do skin anymore, but this is what made me have that, okay, I know how to do it now. And then you can add colors in, you know. There are some times that I'll use 7, 8, 9 different colors, but this is just a real basic. It'll give you some nice skin. We're going to go right in here where the Cupid's bow is. Nice basic skin tones that'll, you know, can take you where you want to go. I'm still not liking this lighting, and hopefully once it's done, maybe it's just the way the light is in here. Okay, so that was with the Sienna Brown. So then after that, I go to my Rosy Beige. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to... Okay, I had to stop the recording for a second. I was going into a coughing fit. Okay, so we're back to the Rosy Beige. I haven't even started that yet. So what I do with the Rosy Beige is I do go over the Sienna Brown that I just put down, and I'm going to start bringing that color out, still being mindful of that highlight area. And again, I go really light, so I'm going over that Sienna Brown, and I'm just going to bring it out. And I'm going to do this around the whole face, leaving those highlight areas white. And again, the reason why I do it this way, from dark to light, is just because I try to blend as I go. And that's just, like I said, my personal preference. You guys find what works for you. So again, I know I need something light here in the middle, somewhere in, you know, in the cheek vicinity. So we're just gonna go for there for now, just to kind of follow our template. And it's not always going to be perfect. And you know, when right now, you know, we're focusing on like the light going straight forward at the face. And not all faces are symmetrical. Not, you know, the light's going to hit it at different angles. So don't try to be, you know, precise with it, especially if you're just learning. Now down here, I am going to go along that bottom chin line. I just don't like the bottom of the chin being super dark. Okay, and then we're going to start bringing this up. And you can make the chin however you want, you know, if you want it to have that ball kind of look, or if you want it to have, you know, a more angular look, it's up to you. All right. So again, being mindful of that highlight area, you know, and we're just going to blend this in. And then over here on the nose, I'm going to kind of go up the center, or on the sides, I should say, not up the center, because up the center is where I want my light line to be, or at least a highlight area. I'm going to go, you know, in here, and I like leaving right here at the tip, I like leaving a little bit of white, because, you know, when the light hits the tip of your nose sticks out the farthest, so it's going to pick up some light. Okay, so we're going to go from there for right now. And then now I'm going to switch to my peach beige, and I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to go from the outside, and I'm going to work all the way in, still really light. And I like doing light layers because then I can evaluate where I need to go darker. And you know, you can always go darker. You can't really go lighter. I mean, you can go lighter to an extreme where these highlights are. I'm going super light. You can go lighter to you know, to a certain degree with an eraser, but you're never going to get it completely off. So I just tend to just do it in light layers. So this way I can build up what I want to build up. And if I make a mistake, like let's say on this shadow, I went too dark, I can then, you know, I have that option of just making the rest of it dark if I just keep, you know, trying to go as light as I can. So, okay, so I have my base down and you can leave it at that. You know, I see a lot of colorists who, when they're coloring, they have this tendency of not wanting to leave no white, you know, so they're really burnishing in. They want to make sure that you can't see any white. And that's fine. If that's the kind of colorist you are, more power to you, you know, go ahead and do that. For me, I don't mind a little bit of white showing through at times because then when people look at it, they know that it's actually done with pencil. Okay, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to deepen up these shadows. So I'm going back to my Sienna Brown. And we're going to do the same thing. And you can stop at any time, you know, during this if you want 2 layers, if you want 3 layers, or if you want it, you know, darker, go an extra layer. That's totally up to you. Okay, so now where this nose line is, I tend to go kind of a darker line right up against the nose once I get to my second layer. Not super dark, but, you know, a little darker, and then I kind of feather that out so then the nose is just a little bit more defined. Go back around there, make our little, just, you know, just enough. I'm going to go right underneath this lip here. And, you know, with the face down here, I kind of like to do, when I put the shadow in, I kind of like to do it at an angle, like just not a stark line, just, you know, go like that. Because no shadow is really just, you know, a straight line. So again, I just want to make this dark, a little bit darker. And when I say darker, I'm really just using a very medium pressure when I do that, because as I said before, I tend to use very light pressure when I'm doing this. And I am doing this a little bit quicker than what I normally do. When I sit down and I color skin, I do take my time. Uh, I'm a slow colorist when it comes to doing it for my own enjoyment. I color pretty slow. I'm going to go back to the Rosy Beige, and I'm going to do the same thing again. But no, I do color slow when I do it for pleasure, just because then I can step back, I can walk away, I can go have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, come back, look at it again and be like, oh, maybe I should just go a little bit darker here, or, you know, you have that possibility. So I do color a lot slower. Um, but for the sake of this, I don't want this to be, you know, a 4-hour long tutorial. So I am kind of coloring a little bit quicker than I normally would. Okay, and then we're going to go right back in with this peach beige and do the same thing. Like I said, I always go back over everything that I already colored because that is how I blend things out. Again, I'm just using light pressure and I'm kind of, you know, just blending it all together. And if you have a hard time controlling your pressure, you know, you can hold your pencil back over here So then, you know, if you hold your pencil a little bit further back, you tend to, you know, color a little bit lighter. Okay, so again, you can stop right here if you wanted to. And there's nothing wrong with stopping there. You can go on and you can put another layer on, and I will do that on half of it so you can see. So this is, you know, the half that we did on that, and that's 2 layers. So if you wanted to go a little bit darker, take your Sienna Brown again, and let's darken that up. Oh, I hear thunder. We might have more storms rolling through. Been having storms really bad. My dragon tutorial, in the colorful dragon book right now. If you guys watched my last video, I'm still pretty upset about that. It started storming and I lost all my footage, but that's okay. I still got half of the dragon, so I am going to go ahead and finish that. I just had to get my tantrum out of my system. Okay, so let's go back in with the Rosy Beige, and we're going to start blending it out. And you can kind of feel, especially if you print these out, whatever paper you're using. And I will put the paper that I use. It's just Neenah Cardstock. I use either the 110 pound or the 90 pound. But you can kind of feel when your paper just don't want to take no more. And I can still do a few more layers on this paper if I wanted to. Okay, and then we're going to go back in with this peach beige. And same thing, we're going to blend it out. Now the reason why I kind of split the face in half is to show you the difference, you know, between 2 layers and 3 layers, and how you can take one skin tone and you can change it into darker, into lighter, different things like that. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can tell the difference, but you know, if you come down here, that's 2 layers. You can have it like that, and if you go over here, that's a little bit darker. So there's the 2, and it, you know, if sometimes having the eyes naked, I know a lot of people have a problem with that, but you can go in, and if it's just practice, you know, like I'm just taking my Sienna Brown and let's just, you know, tidy up, let's just put some lipstick on her, and it's just going to be, you know, a real natural kind of color because this is the color that I use for her shadows. But we're going to throw some lipstick on her, and let's see what I have. Oh, in my portrait set I do have indigo, so let's throw some blue eyes on her. So at least, you know, she doesn't look completely naked. Because some people can't see the skin tone without having some of those elements covered. The other thing that you can do is you can take your Sienna Brown, or the darkest of the shadows, and you can come in here right where that eye line is, like where the crease is on the line, and you can just make that kind of dark so it looks like the eyes are hooded. So then when I get done with that part, what I like doing is I'll take my trusty pencil, and right above here, I'll write the colors that I used. So I used Sienna Brown, I used Rosy Beige, and I used Peach Beige. And then I'll just put that it was Prisma colors. So then this way, if I wanted to cut this out like this, you know, cut it into a square, I can take it, like I have one here. This is a different skin tone that I was working on. You can tell that it's a little bit different than this one. This is, and this is how I kind of do it. And like I said, I cut them out and I can glue them just with a glue stick or whatever into my combo book. So like on this one, I used burnt ochre, peach, and light peach, and you can tell, you know, the difference here. And then I just drew a line over here, and I tried it with just light umber on this side. So you can tell the difference between the burnt ochre and the light umber. And this is just how I kind of play around with colors when I'm looking for a different skin tone. So that is one that I'm not going to show today, but that is one I'm going to steal that one. You guys could too, but it's burnt ochre, peach, and light peach, or you can use the light umber instead of the burnt ochre. But so this is what I do. Like I cut them out and I glue them down. So then this way I have something to reference back to, and I can, you know, from here, if I just did this one, this simple three-tone one, well, then I can start adding in other colors and layering it up and get a totally different effect. So, okay, enough babbling on. So this was our first one there. So then over here, I'm going to do a different skin combo. Oh, and if you wanted to, this is a really good practice, and I'll show you why. So if you make just little swatches next to your colors, like so, and I don't go the lightest and I don't go the darkest. I kind of go a medium pressure with those. And that's just, like I said, the way that I do it. Okay, so we're going to take these three. Let's pop these back in my case over here. So the next three colors, and this was the very, very, very first skin tone. Oh, I should have had that covered up. But this was the very, very first skin tone that I learned. And this was something that, you know, every time I watch a tutorial or I tried learning, excuse me, I need to take a sip of tea. These were the colors that just kept popping up a little bit. So it's henna, light peach, and peach. Now, generally, if I was using it out of my big set, I wouldn't use the henna. I'd probably use nectar. But in the portrait set, they don't have nectar. But henna works just as well. Okay, so we're going to do it the same way. Take the henna, super light. This is going to be more of your rosier skin tone, as opposed to this one, which is kind of more like a yellow undertone, like an olive. I don't know, an olivey skin tone. See, I don't look at it as an ethnicity. I look at it as what I'm feeling in the moment. You know, if I want her to have blue skin, it's the same principle. You pick, you know, a dark, a medium, and a light. If you're only going to do 3 pencils, if you're just learning, you have your dark, your medium, and your light, and you do it the same exact way. Okay, we're going to make this nose come down. And this part doesn't have to be, you know, if you're just practicing, it doesn't have to be perfect, as long as you kind of get the idea of how you want to do it. Okay, and then we're going to go to our peach, and we're going to do the same thing. Again, I can't say it enough, be mindful of those highlight areas. I had to have that as my mantra for so long. I had to keep telling myself that over and over. When I started a face, I just kept saying, remember your highlights, remember your highlights, remember your highlights, because I would just color right over it. And when I first started doing skin, like, I was so heavy-handed, and so the blending was horrible. Um, so over the last year, I've learned quite a lot. Oh, I should have went a little bit darker there. I've learned quite a lot. I've learned, you know, my own coloring style. I learned how to control my pressure a little bit better, and things like that. I don't have to say my mantra anymore. And every now and then I will find myself forgetting, like on the cheeks. And like on the cheeks, you don't have to go like right in the center. You can kind of make them more oval, like uh, on an angle. God, I'm at a loss for words today. But yeah, you can make them more angular if you want to. It's just, you know, whatever you're feeling or however you see it. And, you know, that's another thing when it comes to colors is I feel that we all kind of see colors a little bit differently. I actually have a subscriber, and her and I talk quite frequently, and I absolutely adore her. Um, but she's colorblind, and her and I talk colors a lot. And I was just amazed, though, by her choices in colors on some of her pictures. You know, our personal pictures that we do in our own time, we'll, you know, send them back and forth to each other and show each other. Or she's always, you know, is like, well, what, you know, is there anything else I can do here? She takes criticism so well. A lot of people have a hard time taking criticism, or sometimes, you know, a lot of us kind of sugarcoat things because there are people who take offense. And, you know, when she asks me, I just give her my honest opinion, like, oh, hey, you might want to, try this, or maybe you can do this, or add some shadows here. And she's awesome. She's a hoot to talk to. I absolutely love talking to her. And I have a few subscribers that I talk to regularly. Um, and it's so much fun seeing their progress, or especially when they're like, oh, how do I do this? Or, how does this picture look? Is there anything that I can do to improve it? And, you tell them just a little bit, like, oh, try this, try that, whatever. And they do it. And they're like, oh my God, I would have never thought of that. And they have that aha moment where it's what their mind wanted. They just didn't know how to get there. And that's, those are the things that I really appreciate. So again, I'm just going to go in for a second layer on this. But yeah, so when it comes to, seeing colors, I feel like some, what's magenta to one person might not be magenta to the other. Or even, when I look at colors, because, I grew up with Crayola crayons. So when I look at colors, I base everything off of Crayola crayons. Like even in my normal life, we'll be out shopping for whether it's dishes or clothes or whatever it is. I'm like, well, I'm looking for this color, like the macaroni and cheese color. If you've never had Crayola crayons, you probably don't know what color macaroni and cheese is. But so I think that Crayola's been ingrained in my mind that that's how I see colors. I see them in, the Crayola sense. And uh, I think we all have that. Like we all have those colors that we have in our head, magentas and fuchsias and things like that. They're just colors that are made up of different colors, but we see them differently. So when it comes to skin, sometimes it's really hard. You just have to, that's why I say I don't go by ethnicity. I go by just what looks good to me, or I hope that it looks decent, at least, so people know that it's a skin tone. And hey, if it's totally screwed up, just make it a different color. Or, you know, um, I always keep my mess ups. I do the same thing. I write the colors that I use on it, um, and I save them because I know not to use those colors again. I can't tell you before I started doing that how many times I would pick up the same colors and be like, well, I know I did this and I didn't like it to begin with, so why am I doing it again, kind of thing. Okay, so I'm just going to do 2 layers on this one. So I'm going to go in with this light peach. Kind of go over the whole thing. Like I said, you guys, I am going really fast and I apologize for that. I'm just doing it for this video's sake. So as you can see, this one is a lot more red. It has some more orangey tones in it. It's more of a rosy skin tone as opposed to this one over here. And you can kind of, I'll show you here in just a minute, you can really, really tell the difference when you look at them side by side. I'm going to go in and I see that this line is kind of still harsh, so I'm going to go in and blend that just a little bit more. Okay, so let's give her a little bit of some lip color here. And we'll give her some blue eyes, since that's what I have here is the color blue. And while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and do the other 2 blue eyes. So this way I'm not doing it in a little bit. I can actually put this set of pencils away. Actually, I'm not going to put that set of pencils away just yet. And I'll show you why. Okay, so if you do this, you can kind of see how, like when you do them side by side, you can kind of see the difference between the yellow and the orangey tones. But if you do this, that on its own will look fine. Just like that on its own will look fine. When you put them together, though, you're kind of like, oh, that's really orange, or oh, that's really yellow. At least that's how I see it. And so I like, that's why I like separating them. So over here, the same thing. I'm going to write the colors that I used. So I used henna, peach, and light peach. And you can make your little swatches next to it. Just like that. Now, I told you guys, if you didn't have a printer, there is a different way that you can do it. This is the way that some people do it. This is the way that I do it sometimes if I'm just, you know, playing around. I'll take my little circle, whatchamacallit, stencil. Stencil, that's the word. And then you can just draw a circle like so. And you can do it that way. You know, take your shadow color. Again, I go pretty light. And you can build it up just in the circle. And you can make your circle smaller. You can make them bigger if you want to. That's all preference. This is about the size that I like making them, if not just a little bit smaller. Just so I can fit, you know, quite a few of them on a page if I wanted to. And then I'll take my lightest color. Start blending that all in. Making my highlight area. And then I'll go back and I'll do it again. And you guys can, you know, when you're documenting stuff, and, you know, no matter what pencil set you're using, you guys can write down the numbers and you can get, you know, as fancy as you want to. And then one last time, I'm just going to blend all of that in. And, you know, when you do the circles like this is a time where you can add in more colors. You know, you can add in a different thing over here for your shadow. Or you can put some purple underneath that shadow and bring it out. So again, just I'm going to write down the colors. Henna, peach, light peach. And done we go. I'm going to put that as Prisma colors, and you can put your swatches on here or just go off of this either way. So that's how I do that. If I'm, you know, if I don't have a printer, I would just do this in my combo book or in a sketchbook or whatever you have. Okay, so next up, the reason why I made these little swatches is for this reason. So let's say, let me try to put this book out of my way. Let's say that we don't have Prisma colors, that we have Artezas. So here's my Artezas. And, you know, for me, I always swatch my pencils. Always swatch my pencils. So I'm going to turn to my Arteza page. Here it is. So this is my Arteza page. And let's say this one right here. So I can flip through here and I can find a color. And it's not going to be an exact match at all. But I can take this and I can be like, okay, I need to, you know, try to find this henna color here. And so I kind of go through all my colors and I'm like, what would be, you know, close to this henna color? So, you know, I have this garnet. You know, the garnet's kind of red. Or I have this, what's this one? Sienna Brown. And henna is a split between them. I mean, I guess you can go burnt ochre too, but that's a little orange. But you know, to me, it's a split between the sienna brown and the garnet. So I guess it would all depend on how I want my skin tone to go. Do I want to go more red, or do I want to use, you know, go a little bit more of the brown color? And I think for me, I'm going to go a little bit more of the brown color. So that is sienna brown. There it is. So we got sienna brown in place of our henna. And then we got to find a peach and a light peach. And there, you guys, you have to remember that, you know, no matter what pencil brand you use, you're not going to get an exact match. You got to just kind of get close enough to it and then play around from there. If it's not right the first time, that's okay. Just try something, you know, try something different. Okay, so this peach color, let's flip over here to our lighter colors. So I'm really liking this peaches and cream for the peach, but I don't really have anything close to the light peach. So I think I'm going to have to go just a little bit darker. So I'm thinking apricot for the peach and peaches and cream for the light peach. So we got apricot and not marmalade. Oh, here we go. Peaches and cream. So those are going to be my 3 pencils. Let's give them all a sharpen. Okay, so now we're at Artezas. And we matched them up the best that we could if we're going to go, you know, for this skin tone right here. So I'm going to go right underneath it. Oh, let me move my swatch book here. Oh, I almost pulled the whole string out. Okay. So let's go to the one right underneath it here. And let's see how close of a match it is. Like I said, it's not going to be perfect, and that's okay. So we're going to go with the Sienna Brown. And it's funny because we use Sienna Brown in this top one here. But this Sienna Brown looks a little bit different, but we'll see. So we're going to go with Sienna Brown. See, I think the Sienna Brown is a little bit more red than that one, but you know, it doesn't matter. It's just the way that I see the color. All right. So, same show, you guys. Now I have played around with the castle arts with this skin combination. And I will tell you guys what it is when we're done with this. I'll tell you guys what it is. That's one, though, that I'm still trying to perfect. Because the way that I see the one that I've been playing with is a little yellow, and I'll show it to you. It's a little more yellow than I would have liked, but it still works as a skin tone. It's not like it was horrible. It was just a little bit more yellow than what I had expected. But like I said, I'll show you guys after I do this. You might like it. And if you do, that's fine. Use it. Try something out. Okay, we're going to go right underneath the lip here. Okay, so I should have just put these prisms away because I'm going to pick up one of them. I can guarantee that. And if they're out of my way, then I won't. Okay, so that was a Sienna Brown. What color did we say next? I think it was this apricot. All right, so same thing. We're just going to kind of blend it as we go, being mindful again of our highlight areas. I really like the Arteza pencils. They were close to my second set of pencils that I owned. I think I got the Schiffer Farbens as my next set of pencils after I got my Prismas. No, I take that back. I got those, I think they're called like Brute Funners now, but when I got them, they were like that Gung Hues or however you say that word. But that's what I got next. And those were totally different. Like I remember getting them And, you know, I was so used to Prismas, and they were so not like Prismas. But I got used to them, and I figured out how to use them, you know, to do what I wanted them to do. And I think that's a big thing, you know, is just you got to figure out how they work for you. Now here, I did not put the little circle on the nose like I did there because I wanted to show you guys the difference. And you do it however you want. Okay, so then we're going to go to this one. What is this one? Peaches and Cream. Oop. You know, and the other thing that I wanted to say is, let's say you're doing this, and here, I'll make the mistake right now. So let's say we're doing this, and right here, we made this a little bit too dark. So that's so much darker than this side. So when we go on to, you know, put our next layer on, we're just going to omit that. We're not going to do that section. So then this way it looks, you know, the same. So don't worry about, you know, if something's too dark, you just make sure everything else matches up to it. Okay, so again, we're going to go in with our Sienna Brown, and we're not going to touch that. We're just going to kind of come down here, and we're going to continue our shadow. The same value as what we have here. This value, is that the right word? You guys, I told you, the same darkness. Let's go with that word. And I tend to, when I first start, I like my pencil sharp so I can get some lines going. But when I come in for the second, the third, the fourth, however many layers I do, I tend to only use the side that's flat, so this way I don't get any sharpness. I feel that when I'm rotating my pencil, when I'm doing skin tone, I'm just going to feather this out ever so lightly, since it's already dark there. But when I do my second and third or however many layers with that sharp edge, I feel like I don't get it a uniformed lay down. And if for some reason it's only like that on skin, and that's just me. I'm sure that there's other people who can rotate their pencils and it'll look perfect. Yeah, just not me. Not me. Not on skin. Okay, so again, just blending it all together. Still watching those highlight areas. You guys are probably sick of hearing me say that, and I'm sorry. All right, now we're going to go with our peaches and cream. I always forget what this pencil is. So we're going to go in with our peaches and cream, and we're just going to blend it all out again. And you guys can probably get a lot better blends than I can right now. Like I said, I'm going pretty quick. I'm trying to. trying to, so you guys don't have, you know, a 4-hour long video. Okay, so I'm just going to do those 2 layers, but you can see the difference. Now, I'm going to pull this out because I promised you guys that I would, because somebody had asked about blender pencil. So, I'm only going to do half the face. I'll do half the face with the Artezas. Now, I am using a Prismacolor blender because, well, that's what I have. I'm just going around in little circles like I colored the rest of the picture. Little circles. Now, I think I see the most drastic change when I'm using the blender on actual Prismacolor pencil. But like I said, if you want to soften it up and you want to, you know, really get all of those colors down into the tooth of the paper, by all means, grab your blender, do your thing. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can tell, blender side, not blender. I am going to go ahead, let me clean this off. I'm going to go ahead up here, and I'm going to do the same thing. Just half the face. I feel sometimes, and I do try to go, if I remember, I try to go from dark to light to kind of blend it all in together. But yeah, I find that like on Prismas, it just alters the color just a little bit. And maybe that's me, or maybe that's the preference of some of you guys. Like that's what you like about the blender method, and that's fine. All right, so blender versus no blender. Preference. Either way, it doesn't matter. All right, so I'm going to put some lips on her. I mean, she has lips, but you know. All right, and then we're going to write these down. So I use a Sienna Brown. Apricot. Now her crown's kind of in the way, so I'm going to write apricot over here. Normally I just write right over everything in pen. And then I use peaches and cream. Peaches and cream. And then these are in Arteza. So there's that. So like I said, that's, you know, that's how come I do my little swatches next to them. So this way, if I go to another brand, and I want to kind of, you know, match it up to it, I can look at the colors that I used with the different settings. You know, it's like, oh, I really like that skin tone. Let me try to recreate it with, you know, the Castle Arts or with the Marco Raffines or the Pablos or, you know, or the Polys. It doesn't matter. You know, you're trying to recreate what you did here. And it's not always going to be the same. It probably will never be get close enough to it. Oh, I did promise you guys that I would show you what I did here with the Castle Arts. And I did half and half this one. So this right here is just one layer. And then this right here is 2 layers. To me, and maybe it's because, you know, it's, you know, next to this one, but it looks really yellow. But it'll still pass as a skin tone. And for this, I used, in the Castle Arts, it was 115, 74, and 3. And I'll put that down in the description, even though that wasn't one that we did today on here, but it's one that I've been playing around with. And like I said, it would pass as a skin tone. It's just a little bit more yellow than, let's say, you know, these 3. So again, personal preference. All right, guys, I think that about wraps it up. I will be doing a couple of other beginner back to the basics tutorials for my colorversary because this is where I started. This is how I started learning. This was what worked for me. Hopefully it'll work for some of you. So leave me some comments down below of what you think or how you learned. Until then, I will see you all later. Bye, guys.